I'm Abigail, 32, and I never thought I'd be sleeping on the floor of my in-laws' house at this point in my life. When you lose your job and apartment in the same month, you learn who truly values you. After months of subtle cruelty and being told the floor was good enough for me, I made a decision that changed everything. It took sacrifice, patience, and every ounce of my self-restraint, but the look on their faces was worth it all. Before I tell you how I turned from a floor sleeper to the neighbor with the dream pool that my in-laws could only watch from their windows, let me know where you're watching from in the comments, and hit that subscribe button if you've ever wanted sweet, silent revenge. Just 18 months ago, my life looked completely different. I was thriving as an interior designer for a boutique firm in the city, transforming luxury apartments and vacation homes for clients who appreciated my eye for detail. I had my own stylish apartment downtown, filled with carefully curated pieces I'd collected over years. My career was on an upward trajectory with a promotion on the horizon. That's when I met Michael Hartwell at a client's housewarming party. Michael was charming, attentive, and seemed genuinely interested in my passion for design. He worked in finance, had a stable job, and shared my dreams of eventually owning a beautiful home where we could build a life together. Our relationship progressed quickly. Within 6 months, we were discussing marriage and house hunting in the suburbs. We were in the middle of planning our wedding when the economic crash hit. First, my design firm lost several major clients. Then came the layoffs. I was among the last to go, but when the axe fell, it fell hard. The severance package was minimal, barely enough to cover 2 months of expenses. Michael's company implemented severe pay cuts to avoid layoffs. Suddenly, his salary barely covered his car payment and student loans. With both our incomes drastically reduced, we couldn't maintain the rent on my apartment. We received an eviction notice giving us 30 days to vacate. We were desperate, weighing options like couch surfing or moving to a cheaper city, when Michael's parents offered what seemed like a lifeline. Patricia and Robert Hartwell had a spacious 4-bedroom house in the suburbs. They suggested we stay with them temporarily while we regrouped financially. "It's only for a few months," Michael assured me, squeezing my hand. "Mom and Dad have the guest room ready. We can save for a deposit on a new place." I was incredibly grateful. Meeting my future in-laws had been pleasant enough. Robert was quiet, but seemed kind, and Patricia had been polite if somewhat reserved. The idea of living with them wasn't ideal, but it was far better than homelessness. Their colonial-style house was immaculately kept, with formal living and dining rooms that looked barely used. Patricia showed us to the guest room on the first day, which was small but comfortable with a queen bed and private bathroom. "We want you to feel at home," she said, patting my arm. "Family helps family." That first week was surprisingly comfortable. Patricia prepared elaborate meals, and Robert shared stories about Michael's childhood. We ate together at the dining table each night, and they seemed genuinely interested in my job search. Patricia even offered to review my resume. I found temporary work at a home decor store, making less than half my previous salary, but at least contributing something to our savings. Michael and I established a timeline, 3 to 4 months maximum before moving out. We calculated that with aggressive saving, we could afford a modest apartment by then. I noticed small tensions. Patricia rearranging the groceries I bought. Robert commenting on the water bill when I took a long shower, but dismissed them as normal adjustment pains. Michael had always been close with his parents, calling them multiple times a week even when we lived separately. Now he seemed to slip back into the role of son rather than partner, deferring to their opinions on everything from dinner plans to our job searches. Still, I remained hopeful. Each night, Michael and I would whisper about our future plans, scrolling through apartment listings on my phone. "Just a few more months," became our mantra. I was determined to make the best of the situation, to show my gratitude through helping around the house and maintaining a positive attitude despite the circumstances. I couldn't have imagined how quickly things would change. By the end of our first month with the Hartwells, subtle shifts in the household dynamic became impossible to ignore. What started as occasional suggestions about how I loaded the dishwasher evolved into daily criticisms. Abigail, dear Patricia, would say, a tight smile on her face, "In this house we fold the towels in thirds, not halves." Or, "That's not how you season a roast, let me show you the proper way." Initially, I tried to adapt, to learn their preferences and routines. But nothing I did seemed quite right. If I cleaned the kitchen, I used the wrong products. If I didn't clean, I was lazy. The goalposts kept moving. The family dinners that had once felt warm became tense affairs. Patricia would ask Michael detailed questions about his day while barely acknowledging my presence. When I would share news about a promising job lead, Robert would change the subject abruptly or make comments like, "The design industry is so frivolous. People are cutting back on luxuries these days." One evening after dinner, I overheard them in the kitchen while I was in the adjacent laundry room. "I didn't think they'd still be here after a month," Robert grumbled. "How long are we expected to carry this burden?" "Michael is our son," Patricia replied. "It's that girl I'm worried about. She doesn't fit with our family. Did you see how she dressed for church last Sunday?" I froze, a sock clutched in my hand, heart pounding. "Michael could have done so much better," she continued. "Remember Caroline from the Miller's family? She's a doctor now." I finished the laundry in silence, fighting back tears. When I told Michael about the conversation later, that night, he frowned and shook his head. "You must have misunderstood, Abby. My parents aren't like that. They're helping us out, remember? Maybe you're just sensitive because of the stress." That was the first time Michael didn't take my side, and it wouldn't be the last. 6 weeks. Into our stay, I noticed Patricia moving boxes into the guest room while I was getting ready for my shift at the decor store. "What's happening?" I asked, watching her stack plastic containers along one wall. "Oh, I've been meaning to talk to you about this," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Robert has decided to convert this room into his model train hobby space. He's been wanting to do this for years, and now seems like the perfect time." "But where will Michael and I sleep?" I asked, my stomach sinking. "Well, we thought you could use that space in the basement. There's plenty of room for a mattress on the floor. It's just temporary after all." Her tone made it clear this wasn't up for discussion. When I told Michael, he seemed uncomfortable, but didn't protest. "It's their house, Abby. We can't really complain when they're letting us stay for free. But the basement? On the floor? It's just for sleeping, and we're saving so much money this way." That weekend, we moved our belongings to the unfinished basement. Michael inflated an air mattress which lost air throughout the night, leaving us essentially on the hard concrete floor by morning. The basement was damp, with a persistent musty smell. There was one small window that let in minimal light, and the laundry area meant constant noise and foot traffic. I cried that first night after Michael fell asleep, feeling humiliated and devalued. I was a successful professional just months ago, and now I was literally sleeping on the floor of someone else's house, treated like an unwelcome stray. The worst part was watching my relationship with Michael transform. In his parents' home, he reverted to a version of himself I hadn't seen before, deferential to their every whim, quick to dismiss my discomfort, eager to please them at my expense. My job search intensified, fueled by a desperate need to escape. I applied for positions I was overqualified for, extended my search radius, took on extra shifts at the decor store. Each night, I'd return exhausted to my floor mattress, increasingly aware that what was supposed to be a temporary arrangement was stretching into something much more permanent. 3 months turned into 6, and the floor mattress in the basement became my unwanted home. The physical toll was undeniable. Persistent back pain from the uneven surface, dark circles under my eyes from broken sleep, and a constant chill that seemed to seep into my bones from the concrete floor. but the emotional impact was far worse. Patricia implemented a strict shower schedule, limiting me to 10 minutes of hot water between 9:30 and 10 p.m., conveniently after everyone else had used the bathroom for the evening. Kitchen access was restricted too. I wasn't allowed to cook during family meal hours, which somehow expanded to cover most of the day. "Abigail, we found your makeup on the bathroom counter again," Patricia would announce at breakfast, holding my mascara like it was evidence in a trial. Common spaces need to remain clean at all times. Meanwhile, her crafting supplies sprawled across the dining table for days, untouchable and unremarked upon. My belongings began to migrate without my knowledge. I'd place my book on the side table, only to find it relocated to the basement the next day. My coat would be moved from the hall closet to a hook in the laundry room. My favorite coffee mug, accidentally, got broken when Patricia was cleaning. "It's getting crowded upstairs," Robert would say when I questioned these movements. "We need to maintain order in our home." Our home, never my home. Patricia's passive-aggressive comments escalated. "Still no luck on the job front?" she'd ask. Fully aware I'd been working double shifts at the decor store while continuing my search for design positions. I suppose some people just aren't meant for professional success. Robert was more direct in his disdain. Once, he found me working on my laptop in the living room on my day off. "We're trying to watch TV later," he said, though it was 5 hours before their usual evening programs. "Don't you have somewhere else to be?" Each night I'd try to discuss these issues with Michael. "Your parents are becoming increasingly hostile," I'd whisper in our basement space. "I feel unwelcome in every corner of this house." "They're doing us a favor, Abby," he'd respond with increasing irritation. "Can't you just be grateful? It's not forever." But "not forever" had no end date, and Michael made minimal effort to look for alternative housing. When I showed him apartment listings, he'd find reasons why they wouldn't work. Too expensive, bad neighborhood, long commute. His excuses morphed into accusations that I was ungrateful for his parents' generosity. The worst moment came during a Sunday dinner with extended family. Patricia had prepared an elaborate meal and seated everyone at the dining table, except me. When I emerged from the basement, dressed carefully in an outfit I'd ironed using the laundry room facilities, there was no place set for me. "Oh, Abigail," Patricia said with false surprise. "I didn't think you'd join us. There's not really room, but you can eat in the kitchen if you'd like. There are leftovers in the fridge." Michael's aunt noticed my exclusion. "Shouldn't Michael's fiancé sit with us?" "Well," Patricia replied, loud enough for everyone to hear, "she's not really fiancé material, is she? No job, no contributions, just taking up space." The table fell silent. I looked to Michael, waiting for him to defend me. He stared at his plate, cheeks red, saying nothing. Later that week, I discovered my carefully crafted resume in the trash, with red marks crossing out my accomplishments and qualifications. The handwriting was unmistakably Patricia's. When confronted, she claimed she was helping by making it more accurate. The final piece fell into place when I overheard Patricia and Robert talking in the garden one evening. "I've spoken with Caroline's mother," Patricia said. "She's still single and would love to reconnect with Michael. If we can just get rid of this Abigail without alienating Michael, I think they'd be perfect together." "How do we manage that?" Robert asked. "Keep making her uncomfortable. She'll leave eventually. Michael will realize she abandoned him and move on. He belongs with someone from our social circle, not some apartment-dwelling designer with no family connections." I began documenting everything. Every nasty comment, every item moved or broken, every exclusion. I kept a journal hidden in my purse away from prying eyes. Something in me had shifted. This was no longer about enduring until things got better. I needed to protect myself, to gather evidence of the systematic campaign to break me down. As my list of grievances grew, so did my determination to find a way out that wouldn't prove them right. I wouldn't be the girl who gave up. But I also wouldn't remain the girl sleeping on the floor much longer. After 8 months of enduring the Hartwells' increasingly hostile environment, I finally had a promising job interview with an architectural firm looking for an interior design consultant. I spent hours preparing, researched the company thoroughly, and wore my last unwrinkled professional outfit. The interview went exceptionally well, with the creative director hinting strongly that an offer was forthcoming. I returned to the Hartwells' house with the first real hope I'd felt in months, eager to share the news with Michael. When I descended the basement stairs, I stopped cold. My air mattress, the few boxes containing my remaining possessions, and the small folding table I used as a desk were gone. In their place was a large treadmill and weight bench. Heart-pounding, I rushed upstairs to find Patricia arranging flowers, in the kitchen as if nothing were amiss. "Where are my things?" I demanded, abandoning the polite facade I'd maintained for months. She barely glanced up. "Robert decided it was time to set up his home gym. Your things are in the utility closet. You can put the mattress down at night and store it during the day." "The utility closet? Where the water heater and furnace are?" My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "There's barely standing room." Patricia set down her scissors with exaggerated patience. "Abigail, you should be grateful we allow you any space at all. Most people in your situation would be homeless. This entitlement is precisely why you can't seem to get back on your feet." Robert entered then, nodding approvingly at the new gym equipment visible through the basement door. "Finally making good use of that space," he remarked. "That space was where I've been sleeping for months," I protested. Robert looked me up and down with unconcealed disdain. "People like you don't deserve comfort. You haven't earned it." I turned to Michael, who had come downstairs during the commotion. "Are you going to say anything?" I pleaded. He shifted uncomfortably, looking between his parents and me. "Maybe we could move the gym equipment to one side?" he offered weakly. "This isn't about equipment, Michael," I said, my voice breaking. "This is about basic dignity and respect. Your parents have been systematically trying to drive me away, and you've let them." "Now she's being dramatic," Patricia sighed. "Michael, perhaps Abigail needs some time alone to reconsider her attitude. Maybe she should stay elsewhere for a while until she appreciates what we've provided." To my horror, Michael nodded slowly. "Maybe that would be best, Abby. Just for a few days until everyone cools down." In that moment, something inside me broke, and then immediately hardened. Without another word, I grabbed my purse and car keys and walked out. I spent that night in my car, parked behind the decor store where I worked, crying until I had no tears left. As dawn broke, my phone chimed with an email. The architectural firm was offering me the position, with a salary higher than I'd anticipated. It wasn't my previous income level, but it was enough. Enough to change everything. Instead of responding to Michael's concerned texts asking where I'd spent the night, I drove to a coffee shop and made a call to a real estate agent I'd met at the decor store. "Thomas, it's Abigail Winters. You mentioned a property that needed renovation work. Is it still available?" Thomas Reed met me an hour later. The property in question was a small, neglected ranch house, directly next door to the Hartwells. The previous owner had died, and the house had sat empty for nearly a year, its price dropping repeatedly. "It needs significant work," Thomas warned as we toured the musty interior with its outdated kitchen and cracked bathroom tiles. "But the structure is sound, and the backyard is larger than most in this neighborhood." I walked to the back window and looked out at the spacious yard, then glanced left toward the Hartwells' property. Their kitchen and living room windows had a direct view of this backyard. "How quickly could I close if I made an offer today?" I asked. Thomas looked surprised. "You're seriously interested? Even with all the renovation needs?" "I'm an interior designer," I replied, a plan forming in my mind. "I see potential where others see problems." I spent the next 2 hours reviewing my finances with brutal honesty. My new salary would qualify me for a mortgage, especially on this discounted property. My credit was excellent despite recent hardships. The severance package I'd carefully preserved by enduring life on the Hartwell's floor would cover the down payment. That afternoon, I applied for pre-approval and made an offer well below asking price, citing the renovation needs. To ensure the Hartwells wouldn't learn of my plans, I opened a new bank account at a different institution and had all communication with the real estate agent directed to my work email. When I returned to the Hartwells that evening, I apologized insincerely for my outburst and quietly retrieved my mattress from the utility closet. As I laid it out on the small space of floor between the treadmill and weight bench, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: power. They thought I was at my lowest point, but I was already executing my escape, one that would bring me more satisfaction than they could possibly imagine. My offer on the house was accepted 3 days later. I signed the paperwork during my lunch break, using Thomas's office rather than risking meeting at the property where the Hartwells might see me. We set the closing for 30 days later, allowing me time to arrange financing and begin planning renovations. Meanwhile, I maintained the charade at the Hartwells. Each morning, I deflated my mattress and stored it in the utility closet as instructed. I endured Patricia's snide comments about my appearance and Robert's complaints about my use of utilities. I pretended to still be job hunting, hiding the fact that I was now working full-time at the architectural firm. Michael remained oblivious, caught between half-heartedly defending me and appeasing his parents. Our relationship had deteriorated to the point where we barely spoke, just two people occupying the same floor space at night. Yet he never suggested looking for our own apartment anymore. He'd grown comfortable in this arrangement, allowing his parents to shield him from adult responsibilities while I bore the brunt of their disdain. I worked overtime at every opportunity, volunteering for weekend projects and staying late to learn the firm's systems. My colleagues assumed I was merely eager to prove myself. In reality, I was banking as much income as possible while minimizing my time at the Hartwells. The closing day arrived without fanfare. I signed the final papers, received the keys to my new home, and returned to my floor mattress without telling a soul. That night, as Michael snored beside me, I held the house keys in my palm, feeling their weight and promise. The next day, I met with Marcus Johnson, a contractor recommended by a colleague. We walked through my newly purchased home, discussing priorities. The kitchen and bathroom need complete overhauls, Marcus noted, making entries on his tablet. The electrical system needs updating, and there's water damage in the master bedroom ceiling. I want to prioritize two things, I said firmly. First, making the master bedroom and bathroom habitable as quickly as possible. And second, I led him to the backyard. I want to install a pool here. Marcus raised his eyebrows. A pool? Before handling the essential renovations? I pointed toward the Hartwells' house, visible through the bare trees separating our properties. I want the pool positioned so it's clearly visible from those windows. Nothing ostentatious but beautiful. The kind of pool people look at and wish was theirs. Understanding dawned on Marcus's face. Neighbor issues? You could say that. We developed a renovation schedule that would allow me to move into the master bedroom within 3 weeks, while longer-term projects continued. The pool would break ground as soon as permits cleared, ideally when spring arrived. Each evening, after work, I'd change clothes in my office bathroom, then sneak into my own house through the back door to review progress or meet with subcontractors. I selected fixtures, tiles, and paint colors during lunch breaks. I arranged furniture deliveries and coordinated with utility companies. As my house slowly transformed, I became increasingly detached from life at the Hartwells. Their attempts to hurt me now seemed pathetic rather than painful. When Patricia accidentally spilled coffee on my work portfolio, I merely cleaned it up without comment, knowing she couldn't damage my future anymore. I befriended Jennifer Carson, who lived on the other side of my new house. She was a single mother of 2 who quickly became an ally, allowing deliveries to be left at her house when I couldn't be home and keeping an eye on contractors. Those Hartwells are something else, she commented one evening as we shared takeout in my half-renovated kitchen. Patricia has been telling everyone in the neighborhood association that their son's girlfriend is some kind of freeloader. I've been dying to say I've met you, and you're nothing like she describes. Please don't, I requested. I want the reveal to be a complete surprise. Jennifer grinned. This is going to be the best neighborhood drama ever. By early spring, my new bedroom and bathroom were complete. I'd selected a luxurious king-sized bed with a tufted headboard, quality linens, and a plush area rug, the antithesis of my floor mattress experience. The backyard had been cleared and marked for pool excavation, with work scheduled to begin the following week. The strategic privacy fence was my favorite touch, designed to block access between the properties while being low enough that the Hartwells would have a clear view of my backyard from their second-floor windows. I'd even angled the planned pool deck to be particularly visible from their master bedroom. All this time, Michael remained clueless. Our communication reduced to practical exchanges about schedules and occasional forced participation in his parents' family dinners. I felt nothing when he touched me at night. No connection when he spoke. The man I had once loved had stood by while his parents systematically demolished my self-worth. And for that, I couldn't forgive him. As the pool excavation date approached, I packed a small bag with essentials and prepared for the final act in my silent revenge. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. The morning the pool excavation was scheduled to begin, Patricia entered the basement without knocking, something she'd taken to doing with increasing frequency. "Abigail," she announced, her voice laced with artificial sweetness. "Robert and I have been discussing the situation, and we feel it's time for some changes." I looked up from folding my clothes, already knowing what was coming. "What kind of changes?" "Well, it's been almost a year now. We expected this arrangement to be temporary, but you seem to have settled in rather permanently." She glanced distastefully at the few possessions I hadn't already secretly moved next door. "We think it would be best if you found other accommodations." "You're asking me to leave?" I clarified, wanting to hear her say it explicitly. "It's just not working out. Michael can stay, of course. He's our son. But we think your presence is preventing him from moving forward in life." At that moment, Robert appeared at the top of the stairs. "Is she understanding the situation?" "I believe so," Patricia replied as if I weren't there. Michael came down next, looking uncomfortable but determined. "Abby, maybe this is for the best. You could stay with a friend for a while, and we could take a break to figure things out. Mom and Dad think we've become too dependent on them." I almost laughed at the irony. They had systematically worked to make me as dependent as possible, and now were using that engineered dependence as justification for disposing of me. "I see," I said calmly. "And you agree with them, Michael? After everything we've been through, you want me to leave while you stay here with your parents?" He couldn't meet my eyes. "Just temporarily, until we can afford our own place." "When might that be? Another year? 2? You haven't looked at apartment listings in months." Patricia interjected, "Your financial difficulties aren't our concern. We've been more than generous." I took a deep breath, savoring the moment I'd been waiting for. "You're right, Patricia. This arrangement isn't working anymore. I'll leave today." The three of them exchanged surprised glances, clearly having expected more resistance. "Well, good," Robert said, somewhat deflated by my easy acquiescence. "That's settled then." "I just need an hour to pack my things," I said. They retreated upstairs, and I heard Patricia already planning how to cleanse the basement of my presence. Michael lingered uncertainly. "Abby, I'm sorry it came to this. I'll call you once you're settled somewhere, and we can talk about our future." "There's nothing to talk about, Michael, but you're welcome to watch me leave." I methodically packed my remaining clothes and personal items into 2 suitcases. Michael hovered nearby, offering half-hearted help that I declined. When I finished, I carried my bags up the stairs and through the kitchen where Patricia was aggressively chopping vegetables. "Leaving so soon?" she asked, unable to hide her satisfaction. "Yes. Thank you for your hospitality." The word tasted bitter on my tongue. Robert emerged from his study. "Do you need Michael to drive you somewhere?" "That won't be necessary. My new place is quite close." I walked out the front door with my 2 suitcases, aware of all 3 Hartwells following onto the porch, likely to ensure I actually left. Instead of heading to my car, I turned right and walked directly to the house next door, my house, and climbed the steps to my front door. I could feel their confusion as I pulled out a key, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. Through my front window, I saw their expressions transform from confusion to shock as realization dawned. Unable to resist, I stepped back onto my porch. "Oh, I should mention, the pool construction begins today. The excavation equipment should arrive any minute. It might be a bit noisy for a few weeks." Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Robert's face reddened to an alarming degree, but it was Michael's expression, a mixture of disbelief, embarrassment, and sudden regret, that I committed to memory. I closed my door on their stunned faces and walked through my renovated home, my sanctuary. The freshly painted walls in soft green, the new hardwood floors, the updated kitchen with marble countertops. I ran my hand along the back of my new sofa, still wrapped in plastic, and looked out at the backyard where stake markers indicated where my pool would be installed. 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Michael stood there looking shell-shocked. "How? When? I don't understand," he stammered. "I've owned this house for months, Michael. I got a new job at an architectural firm almost immediately after your mother sabotaged my resume. I've been renovating while sleeping on your parents' floor. Why didn't you tell me?" "The same reason you didn't tell me when your parents decided I should sleep on the floor. The same reason you said nothing when they excluded me from family dinners. The same reason you stayed silent this morning when they kicked me out." I kept my voice even, free from the anger that had fueled me for months. "You chose them over me at every opportunity, so I chose myself. Abby, we can fix this. I can move in here with you, away from their influence." I shook my head. "No, Michael. I'll be contacting a lawyer about divorce proceedings next week. The woman who slept on your parents' floor while being systematically dehumanized no longer exists. I won't be anyone's doormat again." As if on cue, the pool construction equipment rumbled down the street, a large excavator, concrete trucks, and a crew of workers. I smiled as I saw Patricia and Robert watching from their living room window. "You should go. Your parents seem upset." The next few days brought predictable reactions. Patricia attempted to visit with a housewarming plant and fake congratulations, fishing for information about how I'd managed to buy the house without their knowledge. I accepted the plant and offered no explanations. Robert complained to the neighborhood association about the construction noise, but my permits were in order. Michael sent increasingly desperate texts, which I answered politely but briefly. I installed security cameras around the property after Jennifer warned me that Patricia had been asking questions about my renovation schedule. The final touch was the delivery and installation of my pool furniture, high-end loungers positioned for maximum visibility from the Hartwell's windows. That first night in my own bed after months on the floor was indescribable. I spread my arms and legs wide, savoring the space, the comfort, the knowledge that no one could take this away from me. For the first time in nearly a year, I slept through the night without waking in pain or anxiety. By midsummer, my pool was complete. A beautiful oasis with a natural stone waterfall feature and elegant blue mosaic tile. The first time I slipped into the cool water on a hot July afternoon, I felt a sense of completion. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my dignity and rebuilding my life on my terms. I hosted my first pool party the following weekend, inviting colleagues from the architectural firm and neighbors, including Jennifer and her children. Music played, laughter echoed across the yard, and delicious food was shared. I caught glimpses of the Hartwells watching from their upstairs windows, Patricia's pinched expression visible even from a distance. Michael made several attempts to reconcile, each more desperate than the last. He finally moved out of his parents' house into an apartment across town, claiming he wanted to prove he could be independent. But the damage was irreparable. During our brief meeting with divorce attorneys, he asked one question that revealed he still didn't understand. Was all this, the house, the pool, just to hurt my parents? No, Michael, I answered truthfully. It was to save myself. The fact that it bothers them is just a bonus. The divorce proceedings were straightforward, as we had few shared assets. Throughout the process, I maintained my focus on building my new life. My position at the architectural firm evolved into a specialized role designing luxury outdoor living spaces, inspired by my own backyard transformation. Clients appreciated my personal understanding of how outdoor sanctuaries could heal and restore. I began seeing a therapist to process the emotional trauma of my time with the Hartwells. Dr. Landry helped me recognize how my self-worth had been systematically undermined and guided me through rebuilding my confidence. What they did was a form of emotional abuse, she explained during one session. Your response, creating a safe, beautiful space for yourself, was an act of self-preservation, not vengeance. That reframing helped me move forward without bitterness. I didn't want the anger to define my future any more than the humiliation had defined my past. Patricia made several more attempts to ingratiate herself, especially after she learned about my growing success at work. She spread word through neighborhood channels that she had always supported Abigail's career and was so proud of what our Michael's ex has accomplished. I maintained polite but firm boundaries. When she attempted to invite herself to one of my pool parties under the guise of neighborhood fellowship, I simply responded, I don't think that would be comfortable for either of us, Patricia. Interestingly, Robert eventually offered a gruff apology after suffering a minor heart attack. Facing mortality makes you reconsider your actions, he said during an unexpected visit. I was cruel to you. No excuses. I accepted his apology without promising friendship. I hope you recover quickly, Robert. Take care of yourself. As my professional reputation grew, I began dating again. Cautiously at first, hyper-aware of red flags I'd previously ignored. I met Daniel Rodriguez, a landscape architect, during a joint project. Unlike Michael, he listened when I spoke, valued my professional opinion, and never attempted to diminish my accomplishments. Our relationship developed slowly, built on mutual respect and genuine compatibility. When Daniel first stayed overnight, I explained why my bedroom was so important to me. The luxurious bed, the quality linens, the thoughtful design. I spent almost a year sleeping on a floor, being told I didn't deserve comfort, I explained. He held me closer. Everyone deserves dignity, Abigail. I'm sorry they couldn't see your worth. After 2 years in the house next door to the Hartwells, I made the decision to sell. The property had appreciated significantly with my renovations, and while the pool had served its purpose as both healing space and silent statement, I was ready for a fresh start without daily reminders of the past. Jennifer was sad to see me go. The neighborhood won't be the same without your fabulous pool parties, she said, as we shared a final sunset by the water. You're always welcome wherever I land, I promised. I found a charming craftsman home across town with enough yard space for Daniel to design a new outdoor sanctuary. Before listing my house, I hosted one final gathering, a combination housewarming and farewell party. I invited everyone who had supported me through my journey, deliberately excluding the Hartwells. The night before moving day, I wrote a letter to the new owners, a young family with 3 children who had fallen in love with the pool. This house was my sanctuary when I desperately needed one, I wrote. The pool isn't just a luxury feature. It was built as a reminder that we all deserve beauty and joy in our lives, even when others try to convince us otherwise. May your family find as much healing and happiness here as I did. As I drove away from the house next door for the final time, I glanced in my rearview mirror. Patricia stood at her living room window, watching me leave. I didn't wave or acknowledge her, not out of lingering anger, but because she was now simply part of my past, not my future. The most valuable lesson from my floor sleeping days wasn't about revenge, but about self-advocacy. Sometimes the quietest response to cruelty is simply building something beautiful for yourself. The Hartwells thought they were teaching me my place in the world, on the floor, out of sight, grateful for scraps of basic human decency. Instead, they taught me that my place is wherever I choose to build it, furnished with self-respect that no one can take away. Have you ever had to rebuild your life after someone tried to tear it down? What helped you find your strength again? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. If you know someone who needs to be reminded of their worth, share this with them. Remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting better. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.